Hi guys, welcome to episode 30 of Knits and Stuff. Today is Friday, May 1st, and I'm Alicia. Today we'll be talking about finished objects, works in progress, pretty things, and local delights. First, welcome to those of you that are new, and for those of you that are returning, thanks for coming back. If you haven't already, there's a group on Ravelry that you can join. It's called the Knits and Stuff Podcast, and I'll put a link in the show notes, which will be at knitsandstuff.wordpress.com. So let's get started. I have a finished object, kind of ish. It hasn't been washed and not blocked, thwacked yet, but I finished the loop bat that I was working on, and colors are a little washed out right now because it's kind of bright outside. But this is the loop Bullseye Bump in the colorway Seriously Sorry, and I spun it up on my ladybug, and I showed the singles off last time, I believe, last episode, and then I went ahead and Navajo plied it, so it is now a 3-ply, and I came up with about 450 yards. I think I was around 5 ounces for the weight of the fiber, or the amount of fiber. So yeah, and it's kind of hard to tell, but it's supposed to be a gradual striping yarn, even though the way I wound it up doesn't really show that as well. But yeah, I'm not sure what weight it is. I don't think it's a fingering, but I need to do the wraps per inch to figure out how thick the yarn is. I'm thinking light worsted, maybe a sport, I don't know, but that's what it looks like. So yeah, it needs a bath. It's got a little bit of twist in it still, but not too bad. And yeah, so that is pretty much done. It's off the wheel, so I think that counts. I'm not gonna be able to wind this back up. And so that is my finished object, and that's all I have for that. So works in progress. I am still working on the same 2 shawls that I've been working on. The first is the Winter Sea Shawl by Liz Abenanti, and I didn't work on this one too much. That's where I was last time, and this is out of Clover, from A Verb for Keeping Warm, in the colorway Beach Class, and it's on US 6s, 4.0 millimeters. They're on my Addy bamboo interchangeable needles. And yeah, I haven't been working on this one too much because I've been working on another shawl, but I'll show that later. But I did get to start the second ball, so I'm more than just a little bit more than halfway done. So yeah, and that's that. And then I'm also working on the Hitchhiker still, which is now ginormous. So it's, oh gosh, I don't even know if I can. So this is where I was last time, and I think I had about 31 little spikes, and now I've gotten like 3 more, and this will be the 3rd one when I finish this row. But it's gotten quite large, quite a lot of stitches across a row, so taking a little bit longer to get a row done, but it's growing. It'll be a nice big scarf. Did I say what this was out of? It's out of Miss Babs Yowza What a Skein in the colorway First Dibs. I'm just gonna kind of and it's on US 7s, 4.5 millimeters, and like I said before, the pattern normally calls for fingering weight yarn, but I saw a worsted weight version of the Hitchhiker in Miss Bab's booth at Stitches West, and I was like, that looks nice. So so I'm using worsted weight and larger needles to make it, and yeah, so that's coming along. And then because you can never have too many shawls on the needles, I also started, try not to drop the yarn, I started this, which is oh, that's the wrong way. This is the Henslow shawl by Beth King. The yarn is Malabrigo Machita in the colorway Pearl, and I'm knitting it on US 4s 3.5 millimeters, also on my Addy Natura Clicks. I think, no, the Hitchhiker is on Crystal Palace needles, but just checking. So yeah, so this yarn I actually bought with Miriam, and this shawl will be for her. She picked out the yarn when we were at the yarn store in Lafayette, and then I gave her a selection of patterns, quite a few, from Ravelry. And I actually looked up, this yarn's pretty similar to Madeline Tosh Light, Moreno Light, something like that. So it's a fingering weight single ply yarn, and there aren't that many patterns that people have used the Malabrigo for, but people, of course, tons of people have knit with the Madeline Tosh. So I searched through a bunch of patterns on Ravelry for the projects that have used Madeline Tosh Light, and picked out a couple and gave some options to Miriam, and she chose the Henslow. So I started that, and I actually started doing so there's yarn over, well, I shouldn't go into too much detail on that because it's a paid pattern, but there are yarn overs that you have to do, and some of the pattern notes from other people who have knit this suggested doing a double yarn over on the side so it doesn't pull as much. So I didn't do that at first, and then I noticed that it was definitely pulling as the shawl got wider and wider, so I switched over to the double yarn overs. I just started doing that. So yeah, and it's not pulling as much. I think it'll be okay that I didn't do that the whole time, because it doesn't pull as much near the bottom, but and if not, then you can just block it out and it shouldn't be too bad. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I really like knitting with this too. It's so soft. I just want to like squish it against my face. So that's pretty much all of that. I'm just gonna keep showing it. It's so pretty. I love the colors. I think I actually knit something else out of the Malabrigo worsted in this colorway, so I thought that was kind of funny that Miriam picked out the same one. But yeah, that's all of my knitting works in progress. I haven't really worked on the spinning that I showed last time, the silk hankies, and yeah, and I finished that other spinning, so sorry if the color's changing too, because I think the sun keeps going in and out of the clouds, so if you see color changes, that's why. The lighting is, I don't know, it's supposed to be sunny, but it got foggy, and spring is weird. So yeah, so I haven't really done any spinning other than the stuff that I finished, but I will probably start something soon because of the pretty things that I got. And although I don't think I will start with that, even though I want to, because I should try and use my stash more than or some of my older stash. So anyway, speaking of pretty things, I made a purchase from Skein. So Instagram is a very dangerous thing. I follow Skein, I think they're just called Skein. It's an Australian yarn and fiber company, and they dye their own yarn and fiber, and I think it's all Australian wool, Australian produced wool and fiber and all of that. So anyway, so I followed them on Instagram, and they posted a really pretty picture of a fiber update that they were doing, and I went on their website and I was like, this is really pretty. So I bought this, and I actually bought 2 braids. I think they only had 2 left. But this is hand painted merino tensile. It's 50/50. It's about 100 grams in the color Meadow, and I'll show the label. So that's their little label, and this is the details on that. So I bought 2 braids, and I was planning to ply them both together. I seem to like the look of that, where I have a couple of other hand spun yarns where I bought 2 braids and then plied them to make a 2-ply. So and I like the look of that, the way they kind of match up but don't match. I don't know. So yeah, that's what I got from them. I'm only showing one because I mean they're the same basically. So yeah, although it's really interesting. I don't think that I've spun with tensile before. I might actually have some tensile, but I don't think I spun it up yet. But I was looking at this one, and they split apart so easily, the little sections. So if you were to buy just one skein, or not skein, one braid of the fiber, it would probably be pretty easy to split it down the middle, or in this case into 4 sections, and get your own 4-ply. Now I'm just making a mess. So I was thinking also about maybe making a 4-ply by splitting the 2 braids in half. I don't know. I'm not really sure what this is going to become once I spin it up anyway, but it's nice and soft though. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that is the pretty things for the week. So, or for the 2 weeks, or for the episode. So that would bring us to local delights. Last week, was it last week? I think so. It was last week up through Sunday, or I guess last week up through this past Sunday. It doesn't really matter. There was a restaurant week in Walnut Creek, and one of my friends, Miriam, lives in Walnut Creek, and lives near that area, and we decided that we would go try one of the restaurants for restaurant week. One of our other friends also came with us, and we booked a reservation at a restaurant called Vada V, and it's in downtown Walnut Creek. It's off of Mount Diablo, I think, close to Tiffany's. And they do tapas and mostly just small plates, and they have wine on a full bar, I think. So yeah, so we did that. But Miriam and I actually didn't get the restaurant week menu, but our friend Kathy did. And so basically how restaurant week works is there's usually a bunch of participating restaurants in an area, so in Walnut Creek for example, and they have prefix menus that you can choose from for lunch and for dinner, and usually they give you a couple options for each course, and you can say which ones you want. So, and it's a good way to try out a place you haven't been before. Usually you get kind of a good sampling of their food, and it's usually a reasonable price. How many times can I say usually and restaurant while I'm talking about this? So but the place that we went to was really good. There was a soy glazed cod that was delicious over a potato pancake or a potato cake. It was really good. So if you're looking for a restaurant in Walnut Creek to eat at, Vaudeville is a good place. And I will link to that in the show notes. And also look out for a restaurant week in your neighborhood, or in a neighborhood that you're visiting. So like Oakland and Berkeley and San Francisco all have restaurant weeks as well. That I think we've been to an Oakland one, maybe a Berkeley one, maybe, but yeah, usually there are a bunch of restaurants that are featured, and since it lasts a week, you can try a new place every day if you want to. But yeah, so that would be local delights and a good tip for discovering new restaurants near you, and trying a bunch of new things from the menu that you might not have normally tried, or they might not offer on the regular menu, at least at that time. So yeah, that is Local Delights, and I don't have any wibbly wobbly timey wimey, as you might have noticed from the beginning. Doctor Who doesn't start until August, and it's really far from now. But although Comic-Con is sooner, and that'll be in July, and I will come back with exciting updates and goodies probably that I bought that are Doctor Who related, but that's pretty far out. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it. Oh, and in case you're wondering, this is a shrug cardigan, kind of, that I knit. I don't know if I ever talked about this on the podcast or if I had finished it already before I started, but it's the Creature Comforts cardigan, and I think it's a Malintosh pattern, but it's out, I knit it out of Malintosh yarn, and the best part is the back. I can't really see what I'm showing you, but that's what the bag looks like. It also has pockets, but they're kind of weird to use because they're like right here, and then it's, yeah, that's my cardigan. That's what I'm wearing right now, and they're not like sleeves, but it has an interesting construction. Yeah, and so I don't really wear this that much though, because it's hard to stay on. You have to have a shawl pin to keep it. Anyway, so that is pretty much it for this episode. Social media stuff, I'm Eliana Knits on Ravelry, Unperfect529 on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. No one seems to go on Pinterest. And yeah, I think that is it. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Okay, bye.